Hello, Power Up Nation. I'm Pat Council, and let's talk about some keys to taking away excuses. Now, this is Tone It Up Tuesday, so I decided to talk about keys to taking away excuses because I had to come up with some keys to take away my own excuses. I have shared with you guys that I am back on my physical fitness kit or kick to make sure that I'm as healthy as possible. So with that being said, sometimes these things are easier said than done, but you can think about this as what stops you from achieving your goals, or attach this to a type of goal achievement. So in other words, there are things that we prefer to do that, as opposed to doing what we need to do or even are supposed to do so that we can achieve the goals that we've set. So for me, one of the things that I would prefer to do, or a few things I would prefer to do, as opposed to spending more than half an hour time working out, is I prefer to read a book. I prefer to write on books and write different things. I prefer to map out different things that have to do with Power Up Nation and designing your life today. I prefer to refine my coaching programs over and over, and to continue to refine those, and so many other things that I would prefer to do when it comes to Power Up Nation, when it comes to doing or following through on my purpose. But I have to remind myself that in order to follow through on all of these things, I actually have to be healthy enough to do that. I have to take care of my health. So I have to take a break and step away from things where I go into overtime. Okay, I don't need to read into overtime. I can read in the morning. I can read at night before I go to sleep. And there are other times throughout the day where I can read a little bit. But also when it comes to writing and some of the other things that I just mentioned, that's kind of during the work day. So with that being said, when it comes to excuses, those are by far one of the easiest things to do. You can make excuses and actually justify them and convince yourself that you're right, when in fact, if you're not getting the results that you desired, then yeah, that's the one thing that will not allow you, to lie to yourself. Because if you're not getting the results that you're after, that says a couple of things. Either there's something wrong, that, in other words, you don't know enough, or something needs to be adjusted, or something is that you need to examine further. Or you're just flat out making excuses for not doing what it is you need to do when you're supposed to do it, so that you can get the outcome that you need to get. So with that being said, I want to share 3 ways that you can actually stay on track when it comes to your fitness. You know what? I was sharing a smoothie recipe with someone I met in the bookstore, and we were sitting around, we were talking, and they were sharing some of the things that they eat and what they do. And I thought, wow, how interesting. And they were saying, I wish I could make my smoothies taste better. So I thought, you know what, I'll share some of my smoothie recipes. And so when I talked about putting kale in a smoothie, the first thing she said was, wow, I have to wrap my mind around the idea that I can actually put raw kale into a smoothie and it's going to taste good. So I thought about that, and I said, these are some of the reasons that we talk ourselves out of doing the very thing that we need to do, or the very thing that we want to do, is we wait until we wrap our minds around it. And in all truth, you do kind of have to wrap your mind around it, meaning you have to accept the idea that I'm going to do this no matter what. But I shared with her, I said, you know what, there's also fresh black cherries in this smoothie. And I named a few other things that was in the smoothie. And I said, just try it once, and you won't even taste the kale. It's delicious. So she did try, and she said, wow, when I saw her again in the bookstore, she said, this is absolutely delicious. And so now, she makes the smoothie. She says, I make it almost every day. So I'm saying all of that to say when it comes to creating excuses, we can come up with reasons for not doing something, but sometimes it's good to just simply step out there and try it. Okay. And try is by far my least favorite word, but nevertheless, it is still a word where we kind of have to in a sense, dip our toe in the water to see if we want to jump in. And so with that being said, there are times when we're willing to do that, but there are also times when we come up with immediate excuses to talk ourselves out of doing something. One of the most, popular excuses of all times is, you know what? I get so busy. I don't have time. So with that being said, I want to share 3 things that you can do when it comes to your fitness or exercising or staying on track. And these are things that I've had to use. I had to come up with these so that instead of talking myself out of something, I could talk myself into something. In my mind, 30 minutes of being on a treadmill or 30 minutes of doing aerobics or 30 minutes of perhaps, or we'd say 45 minutes in this case, perhaps 30 minutes of aerobics and then 15 minutes of some kind of weight lifting or 20 minutes or whatever the case is. I'm like, oh man, sometimes I'm watching the clock because I just wanted to be over. Not because I don't like exercising, but it's because I like something more. So then it dawned on me, wait a minute, why don't you position yourself in a way such that you get more excited about what you're doing? And why don't you also position yourself in a way such that you can't make excuses? One of which is sometimes I think, man, by the time I drive to the gym and then I work out and then I take a shower and then I do all this and this and this, I've lost 2 hours, 2.5. My day is gone. When in fact, if I get up earlier, my day is not really gone. So I use that as an excuse because I have so much work to do. Really, it's not that much work. But with that being said, let me get into this. What I did is I came up with 3 reasons that would help me take my excuses away. And I took action on these immediately. So with that being said, the first one is you do have to wrap your mind around some things. You do have to accept some things. It is important that you make the decision that you are going to stick with something, no matter what. And you have to reinforce that. But sometimes it's easier said than done when we're saying, you know what, I'm going to reinforce this. I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to do it no matter what. So we talk about reinforcing something by say, I'm going to turn it into an affirmation. And by the way, I have a podcast that's coming up that is, where we're going to talk about affirmations because I'm a little bit tired of hearing people saying, oh, you don't need to repeat affirmations. Well, it's semantics, but we'll get into that another time. But the point that I'm making here is affirmations can be very beneficial, but sometimes they can become so mundane because you're saying, I am this, or I am that, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that. And then you actually, you're so used to hearing yourself say it until you don't follow through. So here's one of the things that you can do. You can actually set an alarm on your phone with a phrase, in other words, fitness looks good on you, that kind of thing. You can type that there. So when it alarms, you see that across the screen, but you can take it one step further. You can customize the alarm by turning it into a voice message. So your phones have the capability of that. So you can actually create your own custom voice message. In other words, you can actually talk to yourself. In my case, I would say something like, Pat, it's time for you to exercise. You're going to have so much fun. It's going to be so exciting. Wow. And then use the phrase fitness. It looks so good on you. Not only does it look good on you, it feels good on you. So, my phone, when it alarms, I'm going to hear a customized message in my own voice. So this is going to help you I think it kind of jumpstarts your brain or gives you that jolt that you need so that you don't let yourself off the hook. Usually when I talk to myself in my own voice, I take more action. That's number 1. So number 2 is surround yourself with the right equipment. Remember I said sometimes I don't feel like going to the gym. So it is important that you surround yourself with some type of equipment, and it doesn't have to be expensive equipment. Now I'll share some of the equipment that I use, because for me, I kind of like to mix it up sometimes. And so, I have the exercise balls. Those are not expensive. And by the way, anything that I'm mentioning here, you can look in the show notes and there are the links there and you can kind of check it out and see a picture of it. And they're not expensive. So when you surround yourself with this equipment and you put it in a space kind of where you can see it, eventually you're going to take some kind of action on it. And so, when it comes to doing what you said you would do, when you surround yourself with the right equipment, usually you might make an excuse 1 or 2 days, but eventually you're going to stop because you keep seeing that equipment and you're reminding yourself of what you said you would do. So in conjunction with the customized alarm, you need to have some basic equipment that's actually at your house. Now, for me, I have a treadmill, and before you go, wow, that's expensive. No, I found a very nice portable treadmill, and it's very functional. I recommended it to a friend of mine. She actually purchased it. She loved it, and she recommended it to several other people as well. And she told me, she says, I love it. And I told her, I said, I was surprised as to how sturdy it is and how functional it is. And actually, I like getting on this treadmill. So it's not expensive. It costs less than $300. And you can buy a treadmill for less than $300, but usually it's the cheapy ones with the belt is loose on it. And so you don't particularly like walking on it. So this one, great shock absorbers. I love it. So I'm going to, as I said, put all of this into the show notes so you guys can check it out for yourself. Because the thing is, you remember, I always talk about your 4 power cores, mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual. And so the object of the game is to fine tune those as much as you possibly can. None of this is about perfection. This is about you doing your best, giving your best, and being honest about the fact that, yes, I am doing my best. I'm not letting myself off the hook and talking about the things that I can't do. Okay. What I'm doing is I'm positioning myself to do the things I can, and the things that I think I can't do, I'm willing to take a shot at it to see. And then eventually I might not be able to do it well, but guess what? I'm going to become better and better and better at it. So that's what it's about. So number 1 is set that customized voice alarm. Number 2 is surround yourself with the right equipment so you can't make excuses, or at least you can be honest about the excuses that you're making. When you have the right equipment, now you're aware of the fact that, wait a minute, it's not the fact that I don't have the equipment, it's me and what I am not doing. I am making a conscious decision not to take care of myself. And that's the thing that you have to reconcile with. And then you turn that around and say, you know what? I am making a conscious decision to do better, to take care of myself. And in my case, while I love reading, while I could sit all day and write and coach and do those things, at the end of the day, if my health is not good, I can't do any of that. And I might be able to do it on some level, but I won't be able to do it very well. So the thing is, you have to sometimes use logic on your own way of thinking. So that's number 2. And I only have 3 for you. And so the third one is, and hear me out on this one, because a lot of people hear this, okay? Journal. Okay, journal in a way that inspires you. A lot of times when people journal, they journal about what they didn't do, what they wish for, and these kind of things. In this case, we're talking about you taking care of the physical part of your, let's say, 4-part self, so to speak. Okay. When it comes to that, you want to journal in a way that you are inspired. In other words, write your destiny, write how you see yourself, and then write about your inspired journey. Don't write about it as though this is such a drag. This is, oh my goodness, I can't wait for this to be over. Because here's the end of that story. Oh wait, there's no end of the story until it's the end of your story, period. In other words, you're going to want to do some kind of exercise, well, as long as you can. Okay, it doesn't matter how old you get. Even if you're just walking a few steps, you want to continue to be in motion. It's very good for you, and I'm not going to go into all of that. I'm not here to preach to you. I'm just here to kind of share some ways that you can take away excuses. These are things that I'm using for myself, and they are working very well. And so when you're journaling, as I said, you want to write about your destiny. You want to see yourself at the end of that finish line or crossing that finish line. And you want to write an inspired journey. Acknowledge the things that you're doing right. That's your inspired journey. And you know what? Here's the thing. When we're talking about an inspired journey, it doesn't have to be something that's big and bold and just like to the point where it's okay. Instead of saying, oh man, I only ran a half a mile today. Instead of doing that, say, no, I ran a half a mile today and I'm super excited about the fact that I ran a half a mile today because I moved. Now, granted, I do more than a half a mile a day, but the point I'm making is even if I only did a half a mile, or if I only did something for 30 minutes, I do work to go beyond the 30 minutes. That's not enough for me. But if I only went 30 minutes, let's make it smaller. If I only went 20 minutes, I'm not going to beat myself up and go, wow, yesterday I did 45 minutes or an hour and a half. And today I only did 20 minutes. Wow, I didn't do as good today as I did yesterday. Uninspired. No, keep yourself inspired. Yesterday, you may have done, let's say an hour and a half or more, but the thing that you want to look at, if you only did 20 minutes the next day, said, I am still on track. I still got exercise in. I still moved. I still lift weights or whatever it is you did. I didn't do a lot of cardio today, but I did weight training for 15 to 20 minutes. How exciting. I am still on track. I am still moving towards my destiny. I am still moving towards my goal. I am still working on that goal. So when you journal, your journal, it should be something that inspires you. There are people who say, you know what? Oh man, I didn't journal yesterday. I missed it. You know why people miss journaling a few days? It's because they don't even like what they're writing. And they may not acknowledge that. They may not even be aware of it, but they don't even like what they're putting in their own journals. So what you want to do is you want to like what you're journaling about. And you say, okay, Pat, well, what happens if I have a misstep and I don't work out at all and I eat the wrong things? You know what? That's okay. You can still write about that and say, well, yesterday I ate something I shouldn't have eaten or I ate too much, or because I was working so much, I didn't stay on track and eat my 3 healthy meals. I ate 1 or 2 meals, or I skipped a meal, or something like that. Whatever the misstep is, and said, wow, I only had that one misstep, and guess what? Tomorrow I'll be right back on track. This is exciting. So I am going to cut myself some slack. I'm going to forgive myself, and guess what? I am so back in that game. And so that's the thing. And say, and I don't feel like I got knocked down, but if you do, you can say, I feel like I got knocked down, but guess what? I'm not out. I am back up and I am back at it. Still on track. Okay. So I hope you guys can understand what I'm saying is that when you journal, make it like a story, make it so inspiring to the point where it kind of reads like like a little small movie. It's like being a boxer in a ring, and the boxer gets knocked down, but they're not out. They're back up and they're in it to win the fight. And in the end, they're going to win. So this is how you eliminate those excuses. Finally, all of this, if you wrap all of this up, all of this has to do with your self-image. How do you see yourself? A lot of times when we make a mistake, we see ourselves as this imperfect person. None of this is about whether you're perfect or imperfect. None of this is about that. This is about you kind of visualizing, and you can even write it down, a self-image of who you are. Okay, so what would be one of your self-images or a part of your self-image? A part of your self-image would be what you value. One of my values would be I don't give up, I don't quit. And I value the fact that I stick with things, that I don't quit. When it gets a little difficult, I don't give up. That's something that I value about myself. And so you see, it's not about always getting it right. It's about learning what you didn't do right, perhaps, but now you know, since you know what you didn't do, you since learned what you need to do. And now you are back in that game. It is about reminding yourself about excellence. Excellence and perfection, those two are not the same thing. It's reminding yourself that, you know what, no matter where I am today, I'm going to stay committed to that excellence. It is your commitment to excellence that allows you to get back on track. People think that excellence means that it's these people who are always oh so perfect. Okay. I haven't met anybody who is oh so perfect. Okay. So with that being said, think about your self-image. You know, your self-image includes how you see yourself physically, but it also includes how you think of yourself. What do you think about you? So this is the mental part. How do you feel about yourself? That's your emotional part. Okay. And where do you draw your strength from? That's your spiritual part. So you see how it all works together, you guys? And this is how you actually take away excuses. The more you decide that you're going to draw on the power that's in you, which comes from your spirit, the easier it will be to eliminate those excuses, to the point where even when you don't want to do something, you find a reason or you find a way to make it happen. Okay. See, even if you do it for, let's say, 10 minutes, at least you can give yourself credit and say, you know what? I got it done. I did. I exercised for 10 whole minutes today because I promised myself I would not miss a day. So these are things that I had to come up with because, as I said, there are things I would prefer to do. Okay. And so, it's not easy for me to read and get on the treadmill and walk at a certain speed. I mean, I have to walk like super slow. So it's not easy for me to do that. So as a result, I think if I found a way to do that, then I would probably be tickled about doing it. And you said, well, you know, you could watch like documentaries or you could watch something on television. The truth of the matter is I watch things that are entertaining, things that excite me. Okay, a lot of superhero shows, not the ones that are so political until it's just annoying and non-entertaining. But I perhaps watch those because they kind of rev me up a bit. And I'm like, okay, that keeps me going. So whatever you have to do. Now, these are mine. And I thought I'd share these with you. And as I said, some of the exercise equipment that I use, it's not expensive, but I want to keep them around my house. Or in my house. They're not everywhere, but in my house, in a room. And I want to have them. So if I don't make it to the gym, I still don't have an excuse. I can still get in there and get it done. So what are some of the things that you can do? I want to encourage you to take a moment to write those things down. You know, if you have to recommit to you, recommit to you. Don't sit back and complain about what isn't, what you haven't done, or what you promised to do that you didn't do. Forget all of that. Okay. Recommit. Come up with reasons that you will stay on track and make sure that you do that. Listen, that is all I have for you. But by the way, the kind of exercises you choose, you should kind of like them. They should be fun. And so next week, I'm going to be talking a little more about that. And I have a special guest coming on our Tone It Up Tuesday next week. So stay tuned for that. I think you're going to love what you learned from her. She's awesome. So with that being said, you guys, do life with power because you are built by design to win.